What I want to show in this video is what we, the nerd herd over at Simpleology, believe is the single most scientific prioritization method known to man. Now, before I show you what that is, I want to show you a couple of really cool new hidden features that we just added to Simpleology today on the 11th of November. And again, these are hidden features and they're really useful for tweaking your prioritization a little bit further than even the basic Simpleology will do for you. So I'm assuming now that you've already got your Simpleology account set up. You can set up your free account here at simpleology.com if you don't. And I'm also assuming that you know how to use the system a little bit, but if you don't, you can go to my training and take the basic course. But I'm going to give you a real quick 30-second overview of how the most fundamental parts of the system work. This is really the big idea of Simpleology, and it's what helps people get so much more done compared to other systems. So the way it works is while you're going throughout your day and you're getting normal things done, you jot big ideas, little to-dos, thoughts, whatever it is that's on your mind, you jot it down in the dream catcher, and then you go back to hitting your daily targets or whatever it is that's important that you're doing in that moment. Now, the reason this is important is one of the reasons why people get so little done throughout the day is that when these things come to mind, they start to weigh on their mind and they get distracted, and then they start to feel that heaviness and that pressure from that. So this takes all that off your mind and allows your brain to put all of its resources on what's important. Then what happens is when you either start your day, or you can really do this anytime if you want to do multiple sprints of work throughout your day, you click the Start My Day button, you do either the simple or the advanced version, and it will sort for you through all of the different things that you put on your dream catcher based on the priorities that you set in my life, and then everything is going to end up based on decisions that you make. They're going to either end up on your mental lockbox, your delegation station, your daily targets, or just get dumped completely. Okay, now this whole process takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on whether you're doing simple or advanced, and depending on how good at this you are. Now, once you've done that, you should have a really, really good, clear list of daily targets. And that actually solves most of the prioritization for you, because if you actually followed the process, everything is going to be prioritized and you're going to have a realistic list. But sometimes what happens is we make bad decisions and start my day, and the list gets a little bit overloaded. Sometimes we might just manually add stuff from the dream catcher over to the daily targets, and it gets a little bit convoluted. Or sometimes, we just have a big, massive list of stuff to do. So here are some really cool features that we've added. And at the end of this, again, I'm going to show you a new way of thinking about this that I think is quite different from anything else that you've been taught. But let's talk about the software here. So the first thing that you're going to notice is that we have added a hyperlink function here. So if you put a link inside any of your targets, it is going to be clickable from this point forward. Not a big deal, but very, very handy. Actually saves you a lot of time that used to not be there. Now, the really cool thing is if you are on a Windows machine or on a Mac, really any machine, you can do this. You can right-click on Windows, and you're going to get this context menu here. On a Mac, some Macs support right-click, some will require a command click, and you'll get this really cool menu. And what's going to happen is you can move items around, and you can actually color code items and things like that. So why is this important for prioritization? Well, you've got this big list of stuff to do. Maybe you overloaded the list, right? Again, if you do start my day properly, the list should be pretty short, but sometimes it gets overloaded. So we go, start writing bestseller. Maybe I'm not really going to do that today. So I'm going to move that to the bottom of the list. Boom, it goes down here. All right, now keep everything straightforward. You know what? That doesn't really mean anything. I'm just going to delete it, right? Call back Dave. Okay, yeah, I kind of got to do that. That's important. Test, that's not really important. Delete that. So you'll notice here, okay, big idea. What's that? You can delete that too. Now, some things you can just say, I'm going to mark it as done, right? Or now you can right-click it and say, mark it as done and archive it. Boom. It automatically goes over to the archive. Now, here's what's really cool. Now, if you don't know about this, by the way, you can drag things up. If you want to do it this way, you can right-click it now and move it to top. all sorts of things like that. Now, one really cool prioritization method that I like, this is something that we do here at Simpleology, a lot of the folks here, is we say, hey, what's my top 3, right? What are the top 3 things I need to do? So you can move those top 3 items to the top. Now, if you really want to get cool about that, now what you can do is you can set the row color. Now, you can do this with any color and any shade you like. So we've got this cool little color wheel here. You pick a color that you want for it. I kind of like this blue. Now let's move this over here and shade it. And then boom, now that one is shaded. Now I can do that over here as well. Now that that color is set, I just go apply, and I can do that to these top 3 items. Pretty handy, right? And if we go ahead and play around with that right-click menu, we're going to be adding a lot more stuff to that. You can set the font style, all kinds of cool stuff you can do with that. Now, let's talk about how you're actually going to prioritize stuff. First, before I show you what I think is the best and most scientific method, let's talk about some of the other methods that people use out there. The 3 most common methods I hear are the big rock method, or do the most difficult thing or the most painful thing first method, or do the list of quickest things first. So what is the big rock method? That means if you've got one big massive chunk of work to do, get that out of the way. Do it first, because when you get that done, everything else is smooth sailing from that point forward. Now that sounds really logical, and it makes a lot of sense from one perspective. And you can look at do the most difficult thing first in the same way, right? Yeah, if something is really, really difficult, Brian Tracy says, if you eat a frog first thing in the morning, everything after that is going to be really easy, right? Because what's more difficult than eating a frog? So do that, and then everything's smooth sailing. Really, makes good sense, right? But there's a problem with it, and I'll tell you that in a second. Now, the next thing is, hey, maybe do all the easy stuff first, right? Because that way, rather than get hung up on this one big difficult thing, at least you've got a whole lot of work done. Now, that makes a lot of sense too, because if you do the easy stuff first, you know that you've actually got more volume of work done. But what do none of these things take into consideration? Okay, they don't actually take into consideration the impact of the items that you're prioritizing. So by impact, I mean, what kind of impact is it going to have on the larger goals, the larger hopes and dreams, the larger projects that you're attempting to accomplish, right? So let's look at impact versus size, right? So if we say something is a big rock item, well, okay, it might be a really great big project, but does that project really have any impact on the thing that you're trying to accomplish long term? If the answer is no, maybe you shouldn't be doing it at all, right? Maybe it's better not to do the big rock in the beginning, right? Let's look at impact versus difficulty. Okay, just because something is really difficult doesn't mean that it's actually going to have a positive impact. It could be really, really difficult and have 0 impact on what you're doing. Okay, now let's look at impact versus the speed with which you can get something done. Okay, so let's say you get a whole volume of little things done. Well, if those things, again, don't have any impact on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, then maybe you shouldn't be doing them at all. So you're wondering now, what is the alternative? And you're probably imagining that it has something to do with impact, and you would be right. So the terminology that we came up with for this over here at Simpleology is what we call HIME, high impact, minimal effort. And it's really, really simple. Now, on this blog post, we've included a little spreadsheet for you that will walk you through the process. It's really not that hard. I don't think you really need a spreadsheet for it, but if you've got a big long list of stuff, this is really helpful. So once you get the idea, what you can do is you can manually go through this. So when you're looking at your list of daily targets, you can sort through these things and think about, okay, what is the thing that has the highest impact that requires the most minimal effort? So let's quantify this. So you've got a big list of stuff here, and you just give each thing a rating. You give it a rating on a 1 to 10 scale of impact. So 1 being very little impact, 10 being huge impact, 1 being not so easy, 10 being super easy. So this chart that we have here for you actually calculates that for you, and then you look at the total score, and then you'd want to sort things by the total score, and that's really simple. You can just go sort from largest to smallest, and you'll see at the very top that the most the most impactful and easiest thing, or the combination of the most impactful and the easiest thing, is going to be on the top. Now, this is something that we use at our company all the time. When we've got lists of things that we're thinking about doing, we actually sit down and we rate all of these things, and then we score them. Now, this score, sometimes it doesn't take certain things into consideration. No system is perfect, but it is a starting point that will help you make better, healthier decisions that I think are a lot better than saying, hey, what's the biggest thing on my list? Because that isn't really meaningful. Okay, but again, we've got this spreadsheet for you there just as a reference. You can download that from the blog post. Check out the new features, and that's it. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments of the blog post, and I'll be happy to jump in there and answer them for you.